Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Third year morning and evening study. This is a recording for the lecture we have explained last Thursday. We have agreed that there will be a recording before the lecture and a PDF in order to have an idea before explaining and discussing the most important points about our lecture in the meeting or in online meeting. So by God's will, we will start with the first chapter in our course, but it is a sequence of the in the book, which is our course. This is our textbook this year, which is the University of Grammar English by Randolph Quirk. So chapter number 2 in the book, but it is our first chapter, under the title Elements of Grammar. In the lecture or in the meeting, on the online meeting, I explained the most important differences between what are the elements of grammar and what are the elements of the sentence. Basically, we have said the elements of grammar, any word constitutes a sentence or may be said by someone, whether it's a native speaker or a foreigner or something like that. So the words or the elements of grammar is something larger from the elements of the sentence. In contrast to the elements of a sentence, I have only 5: subject, verb, complement, whether subject or object complement, and object, whether direct or indirect object, and the last one, or the last element, I have the adverbial. So let us start from the section number 1. Keep in mind, the students, the title elements of grammar will deal with all elements, okay, in general, with the general characteristic for these elements, and later on each element I can say, or there will be a separate chapter with more detail, with very detail about each. For example, we have a title for we have a chapter for the verb and the verb phrase. Another chapter will be for the noun phrases and the pronouns. Another chapter for adjectives and adverbials. Another one for the preposition and something like that. So in this chapter we will introduce or to have introduction for what are the elements of the sentence, what are the elements of the grammar in general, what are the parts of speech, and what are the traditional classification for the sentence. So 2.2, under the title Parts of a Sentence. Parts, you can keep in mind, I'm dealing here with what are the parts of the sentence, not what are the elements of the sentence itself. Generally, any sentence, the traditional classification for the English sentences, it contains of 2 parts, subject and predicates. Let us see. So generally, in order to state general rules about the construction of sentences, it is constantly necessary to refer to smaller units than the sentence itself. So, in order to tackle what are the most important things about the elements of the sentence, so we are in for what smaller units than the sentence itself. So to explain what these smaller units are, that we need to distinguish, confining our attention for the present to a few sentences, which, though showing considerable variety, are all of fairly elementary structure. These 2 lines, or this line is talking about our sentences at the beginning of the chapter, saying that though they are showing different variety, considerable variety, but they are very elementary, fundamental, essential for our classification and our understanding for what are the elements of the sentence. And we are going to see what does this mean. Traditionally, there is a primary distinction between subject and predicates. Subject and predicate. Look at these 6 sentences and keep them in mind, please. They are very different, so they are unequal in size, they are different in content, but they are very practical and workable for our objective in this chapter, or for our aim in this chapter. The first one, according to the traditional classification, I have look at these words. Up to this point, I do not know what are they. I'm saying they are what? They are verbs. And I have what? There is a space between this word and the rest of the sentence. So, John carefully searched the room. The girl is now a student at a large university. Keep this for the first sentence. John carefully searched the room. John is, according to this classification, John is the subject, and what is left from the sentence called predicates. Again, the girl is the subject, is now a student at a large university is the predicate. His brother is the subject. Grow up here gradually is the predicate. It, again, is the subject, trained steadily all day, and the same thing with the last 2 sentences. So, keep in mind, I have what? I have these sentences, though they are different, though they are various, but they have elementary or different elementary structure. Let us have an idea, or let us shed light about what is a subject. Can you define the word subject according to what you see? Different subjects here. I have John as a common noun, for example, a proper noun, The girl is a noun phrase, his brother is a noun phrase. It, he, they are a pronoun. So what is the subject? What is its relation to what? To the predicates. What is the theme of the sentence, and what is something not new, and something already discussed or mentioned. Look at this paragraph on page 11. Though such a division obviously results in parts which are in these examples very unequal in size and dissimilar in content. This line is talking about the sentences that they are unequal in size and they are different in the content. They are chosen arbitrarily. They are not selected for a purpose. They are arbitrary. So, what is the subject? The subject has a clause. Please, you can underline these words. Has a close general relation to what is being discussed. What is being? I have here ing. What is being discussed. So at the time of speaking, it is what? The subject. When you want simply to discuss what is the subject, it refers or it has a close relation to what is being discussed. The theme, the subject is the theme of the subject of the sentence. The normal implication that something new predicate is being said about a subject that has already been introduced in an earlier sentence. Back to our sentences, and that has what match what we have said and we have read now to our sentences. Means, look at what the word John. John, it seems that we have what? You know, when I say John carefully search the room, suppose that you know who is John. The speaker and the listener, the addressee, know which John we are talking about. So it is something already mentioned, already known. And the two participants of the conversation are familiar who is John. The same with the girl, his brother You see, I have the definite article here, and I have, and obviously, if you have a pronoun, so they refer to something already mentioned. What else? All the predicate is something what's being or something discussed or being said about the subject. When I say John carefully or carefully searched the room, I was. This done by what? By John. So it's something new said about the subject. Again, by the subject, I can have some sort of concord. You know, concord, it is a type of grammatical agreement. And this will be more obvious where in the present time. Where, for example, the girl is. The girl is. I cannot say the girl are or the girl have. Why? Something referred to the singular and the plural or something like that. Again, I have, for example, they hear, they make. This is in present time, say present form of the verb in the present. So I say they make. I cannot say they makes. They makes or they are making. So it is because the concord. Again, by the subject, I can change the sentence from a statement to what? To a question. By some sort of inversion, changing the position of the verb, subject and the auxiliary, I can change the form of the sentence to what? To a question. He had given the girl an apple. Simply, when I want introduce or propose the auxiliary before the subject, say, had he given the girl an apple? I change it from a statement to what? To a question. Yeah. So I have mentioned something related to what? Auxiliary operator. What do they mean?